Good evening or morning in Jeff's case.
Yeah.
So tonight Jeff's been in the Philippines, as I'm sure most of y'all know. We talked about it last week. He took a tour of Gen Gen's place and snapped a whole bunch of pictures for us. And we are going to go through those tonight. And we're going to let Jeff tell you what he learned, what he saw, what they did, all that good stuff. Right?
Sure. I'll do my best.
Well, I know that taking pictures is not your strong point, but I do know recalling stuff is pretty solid for you. So sometimes you get me. Hey, Sean.
In all fairness, Gen Gen's number one, helper went around and took all the pictures for me. So because I suck at pictures. Okay.
Yeah, when I started getting all the pictures like dumped on my phone, I was like, what the? And I'm looking at them and I just think, there's no way Jeff took this many pictures. And then Jeff said that Gen Gen's right-hand man is the one that took the pictures and sent them to him. So full disclosure.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen all these places, but I said, I suck at getting my phone out and taking a picture. So it's just not, I don't know. Pictures of me are not. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, so like for me, a lot of times in certain places, you taking pictures isn't a good thing. So sometimes I don't think about it either because it's, I'm not like these teenagers that will go out and do a bunch of stuff they're not supposed to do and be like, "Oh, let's video it and put it on social media."
Where it lives forever. Right?
That's actually, in my opinion, part of what's wrong with the gamefowl world today, and the reason they're getting so much heat is all the freaking posts on social media.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to share their life, and the exciting times in it, but there's a time and a place, right? So,
yeah. Anyway. So tonight we have the very rare occasion to see Jeff wearing a hat. And Jeff was telling me about his hat. So Jeff, if you want to take that hat off and hold it closer so the camera can actually see. Hey, that is a good looking hat.
It feels good. It's a great hat. I made a new friend, Michael Cooper Nurse from Guam. He has the feed store over there, Maget Feeds.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy. I mean, great guy. We talked for like probably 3 hours.
Nice.
At different burst of intervals,
right.
Different topics and things like that. And so, yeah, I mean, he brings the Rapido to Guam. He
also brings Gen Gen's feed there too, right?
Yeah, the 18% high energy pellet. He takes that over, and sadly, he said, not many guys buy it because of the cost, right? And I said, you can't fake stupid. So, I mean,
we've been trying it for a little over a year now.
Yeah,
and we've been able to convert some folks. So,
it's slow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was the same way. I was like, I can get feed for $10, $12 a bag cheaper. Like, this is insane.
Yeah.
But then, I learned what I learned, and here we are a couple of years later.
Yeah. You can buy a
So,
DeWalt or a Milwaukee, or you can go to Harbor Freight. I mean, you get what you pay for, man. So,
and Harbor Freight, their little 2-year warranty, I will say, is pretty nice.
yeah.
If you have something from there with that warranty, you can walk in and give them your information. They find your receipt. You go get another one.
Yeah.
But you also lost time to go to the store, had to stop doing what you were doing, and then you got to go get motivated to start all over again. And that's just a crop.
You know, as a homeowner, right? Using a Harbor Freight tool is one thing. If I was a professional, there's no way, right? It just you can't afford the downtime, and the performance is not equal. Okay, at the end of the day, it's not equal. So,
look, I've got a Milwaukee Fuel M18 drill. And one of my sons actually gave it to me for my birthday several years ago. And I was like, okay, I got this and I got this other one. What's the difference? He said, oh, just wait till you try it out. And yeah, the torque that thing had, the speed. Yeah, you pay for quality. Here in the States, Chick-fil-A is a thing. And people are like, I think it's so stupid to pay so much for Chick-fil-A. And they're definitely not a sponsor of this show. But I'm like, you know what? I go there, I place my order, I wait, I get my food, and it's exactly what I asked for. And they say, my pleasure, when they take your money.
oh yeah, yeah,
So
very friendly. I get it. You get what you pay for.
that's right. Okay, now this has to be Chamorro. It's definitely not English, but
What's
I'm
that?
going to assume it's hello or good afternoon or good morning. And
Half a day is the greeting at either end of the day in Guam, so it's basically a good day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've learned something.
Uh-huh.
I guess I'm done for the day, right?
You're done. Yeah.
And that's how you say it, half a day.
Yeah. That's how we say it, as mainlanders. But yeah, they don't say it quite the same way, but I can't say it. I can't enunciate it perfectly. So
It's kind of like one of us trying to speak Spanish.
yeah.
My tongue just don't roll like that. And when I hear my two daughters getting into it, that one of them was here a while ago. Man, like, you're talking 10,000 miles an hour. So anyway, so in this picture, this is some of the pictures that was sent over. What is this?
All right. So the first picture, on my left as I'm looking at the screen is it's a long building. That's how many fly pens he has. Okay, so if you can kind of check the depth of that building's probably 80 or 100 feet long.
I was going to say, I was wondering if that was like an 80 or 100 footer, because it looks huge.
Yeah. So, you're looking at like 20, 24 fly pens on each side, right? So those are fly pens, because he doesn't do his breeding in there. He actually does his breeding in his what we would consider a drop pen, but it's not. It's a little bit different. But yeah, 3 foot by 3 foot. He'll just move the cock around to whatever hen is in his breeding cycle. Yeah. And then they'll collect eggs from her for about 2 weeks, and but the rooster's always moving. He's only in there. He's not even in there for a day, right? He's only in there for maybe half the day, 2, 3, 4 hours. When they make sure that he's bred her, topped her a few times, then they'll either rest him or move him. So
I was gonna say, do they, if they're pimping him out, do they give him a break?
Little bit.
Just,
little bit.
Hey, great job. Here's your couple pellets. Get ready to do it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, usually hitting 1 or 2 hens a day, right? With a break in between. Got to give them a chance to reload, man. Come on.
Yeah, you got to have that recovery time.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, like one of his workers working on the farm could move the rooster. Let me put you here and go do whatever, and then come back and move. I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you pair mate like that, you either already know what you're going to get, or you find out exactly what you're going to get from the pair. So that's pretty cool. That is awesome.
He doesn't do any group mating. Everything's pair mating, right? So it's always the rooster moving to a specified hen based on traits.
The way it should be done.
He's always experimenting, right? I mean, what if I put this rooster on this hen? So other than like he's got Palawakans and he's got his Dom or his Bulik line, then he keeps those pretty clean. But he's always trying this on that, right? And if you ever go to visit Gen Gen, it is useless for you to say, oh, I've got a McLean hatch, or I've got a, whatever Kelso, or I've got a, okay.
Yeah, he don't care about that. They're all jungle fowl in his book.
Okay. To him, it's a chicken. Okay. And if it feels good in the hand, the body's put together right, the legs are straight, okay, and it's got the right attributes, it's what he's looking for. So he really could care less, okay, what the name is, where it came from. Once, he was just in the U.S. last November, right, and going around buying chickens and buying roosters and stuff like that, shipped them back over. Once I get there, they don't have a name anymore, right? He might say, I bought this rooster from so and so.
No, right? they have a name. They're he uses he ran out of them. I was going to get one from him. He has some zip tie leg bands that has his farm name on them and a number. So, they have a name, 3045 or whatever it is, to do your job. And then, we'll see if we'll call you a name after that.
Yeah. But it took me a little while to let it sink in, but he was, but yeah. And I'm on board, right? Because he's like, nope, names don't mean anything. It's a chicken.
Yeah, when he was here last November, I actually got to go with him to a few different farms in a state near me. And he showed me a lot of the stuff he looked for. He'd pick a bird up and he'd feel it, and then he'd hand it to me and he'd say, feel that, and I'd feel it. And sometimes I'd look at him kind of funny, and then I'd put it back down, and then when whoever would walk off, he'd be like, you don't want that one. It doesn't feel. Did you notice the feel for whatever? Yeah.
All right. Second picture is, it looks like his mom's house. Okay. So they have two different properties. Well, they have more than two, but like Gen Gen stays on the farm, like the last picture over there with all the teepees and stuff. So they have where his big house is, where his wife and family stay, his mom's house, right? There's 2 or 3 houses over there, the big garage, things like that. There's chickens there, and a lot of fruit trees. Him and his family are really big on planting, their own papaya, mango, banana trees, things like that. And they, so they're often walking around, almost on a daily basis if there's something that's ripe, and they're picking either mangoes or papaya or different kinds of fruit that they've planted on their properties. But two properties, and they're separated a little bit, not even a quarter mile,
right,
as the crow flies, about half a mile driving. So it's, but yeah, it's anywhere that there's a place, there's a chicken. Right now, he's maxed out. He's running. He's running probably. Yeah, I asked him this and I forgot the number, but he's running around 400 mature fowl, like either in the breeding program or stags coming up, to go to the pit, that sort of thing. And then, when he does a hatch, because he's hatching like 800 at a time, and he'll do 4 or 5 hatches a year or more. So when he's hatching, he'll have over 1,000 birds on the 2 properties at any given time, right? And then once they get to a certain age, and he goes through, he's going through selection often. Okay, so he's 6-8 weeks old. He's already going through some selection, and he'll be giving away chicks at that point, what he doesn't like, and then he'll again at maybe 16 weeks old, he's going through a selection process. At about 16 weeks old, he may separate out a bunch and send to another farm about an hour away, where he's got there's like 500. Mostly stags are going up there.
Those are the maybes for later,
right? But he's got a yard with, I would guess 500 to 600 birds, on tie cords and teepees at another family property. So,
as we get through, let's go ahead and move to another slide. Right. But yeah, there's tons of them.
Yeah. And it's just,
like this looks like a gazebo area.
Yeah. So like when he's inspecting birds, he'll pull up a chair, right? And the farm help will bring him up a whole lineup of birds, right? He'll go through 50 or 100 birds, and he's checking the legs, checking the body, checking the eyes, looking for health, looking for everything. He's putting hands on them. These are when they're getting up at around that 16 weeks old, when he's kind of doing that final inspection. Is he going to give them to someone? So he'll give birds to locals to his farm. Literally, he'll give them birds, right? And here's the deal, right? If he gives you a bird, you have to bring it to his arena, right, when it's time to show it. Okay, so
that's fair,
right? And so he makes his money on the bedding at the arena, all completely legal and above board. But so, he gets a percentage. I think he said he gets 16% of the win. Okay, so whatever that high better is, he's pulling off 16% of that off of every fight. So in order to keep his arena busy, fully stocked with, having enough fights every day, then he'll, one of the ways is by giving, locals, free birds. Okay?
Yeah.
Let them finish them out and bring them in. Okay.
See what happens.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, Mill Branch asked, how does he make a living? So he's got the arena, he's got the pit, and he makes money off the pit, mostly off of the bedding side of it, pulling off of a percentage there, but the family is, his family, there's a lot of family wealth. So they own a lot of properties that they lease, they rent, they rent out to people.
It's like a generational thing.
It's a truly generational thing. And they've got so many different little sideline things going on, that they pull a little money from this and they pull a little money from that. And it all comes into a collective. But his primary income is the pit, what he's making off of the pit and the bedding. Okay. And yeah,
it makes sense. He obviously does pretty well at it. He comes to America a couple times a year to pick up some birds.
Well, he used to. He's cut way back. He's gotten busy. Look, we all get older, and let me tell you, traveling, 20, Now he takes a direct flight from Manila to LA. And the family has a house in Los Angeles, so he'll stay
Yep.
there. He'll pull in, he'll rest up a little bit, but still, that's 16 hours, right?
Hmm.
That's 16-hour nonstop flight, and then you change 12 hours difference. Well, to the West Coast, it's a 9-hour time difference. And I asked him, I said, "How long did it take you to figure out how to sleep when you got there?" He goes, "3 weeks." I go, "Yeah, here I am. This is my third week. I'm finally figuring out how to go to bed at like 9 o'clock at night and try to sleep till 5 in the morning, Philippines time." Right. So it's not an easy adjustment. I'm not 30 years old anymore, so it would have been a lot easier then than it is now. But
Look, I'm when I decided I was coming in January, that was one of the things that when I told my wife, she looked at me and she said, "You have enough problems sleeping as it is. You're literally going to jump a day." I said, "Well, I'm going to take my medication with me and just power through it."
yeah, that's all you can do. So
So this room in the far right, it looks like it's outdoors. It's
right,
got sand in it, and it looks like it's got plexiglass around it.
yeah, it's glass. It's actually tempered glass, and so that's an outdoor pit for on farm, sparring. And
Right.
if they have like a private party or a main or something like that, that's what that is. And then yeah, the first picture is a gazebo. So if they're having a family party, there's a lot of holidays there,
Hmm.
where they have family gatherings, and birthdays are big, and so and they do it differently there. So if it's your birthday, you pay to entertain the guest, right? So that's
Well, I
versus
mean,
someone,
here
hey, yeah,
as a parent, if it's your birthday, you're still paying.
yeah, yeah,
All right. Let's see.
just
This is
different yards
yeah.
with teepees set up on them. The one on the right is his free range area. So if you look really far back into the background, you see that tall building with some blue and some green and some white.
Yeah.
That's
What is that?
actually okay. So there, what they call this is SM, which is super mall. So this company has malls in different locations all over the Philippines, but it's called Super Mall SM, right? So you go in there and they've got 20 different restaurants, they've got a grocery store, they got department store, jewelry store, clothing stores. So basically, it's like a mall as we would know it here. And of course, our malls. I don't know about you guys, but our malls are dying off. Right?
Yeah.
You don't but there the malls are going strong, and the locals like to go there and get something to eat, and they just like the air conditioning, so they'll wander around in the mall and look at stuff. And I said there's, like I said, grocery store, pharmacy, you know a lot of food places, a lot of different food places. So he's right across, his free range area is right across the street from the super mall. And so this piece of property has an insanely high value, right? I mean, and they sell by the square meter, not by the hectare, not by the acre. Okay, the land prices are based on per square meter. Um,
And from what I've looked, the per square meter cost is not cheap.
if you're anywhere in an urban area where you can do retail space, yeah, it's not even right. I don't. He told me the value of this per square meter, and it was insane. Right. So he's going to be looking for another free range area because they're actually going to start building on here to put some retail sites for that they can lease out, and develop this a little bit. But sadly, this is his free range area. Um, so 6 months ago or so, his brooder got hit with gambora, which is a type of CRD or
Hmm.
mycoplasm. So I mean, right after they hatched, he skipped going to the brooder, until they could get it properly sanitized and give it a rest and make sure
Right.
it was cleaned out. So he was going from there to, he made these makeshift brooders out in the free range area. Okay. So he did a couple of batches that way. So he's in the, I think there might be pictures. He's in the middle of making some new chick houses with a range area. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I saw somebody that had that at their farm in, I believe I was in North Carolina, and they have, I mean, it's essentially like what you would see as a cattle hut or something like that.
Yeah.
3 walls and a roof where they could go in, but instead of it being like 8 feet tall, it's a foot tall. And the roof he had on hinges. I was like, that's really cool. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if you have the weather to do it, but his weather is always, they don't need a whole lot of heat.
I was going to
Because
say in
every
the
day,
Philippines, heat's not really what they need. They need a way to get out of the rain.
they only need heat for the first 14 days until the bird can regulate its own temperature. So after that, after they're 2 weeks old, they're pretty much, it's warm enough there that every day that you don't need any supplemental heat.
Mm. There's his pit.
Yep. Yep. So the picture distorted a little bit, and I don't.
It did, and I
Wait.
tried to fix it, but it would not fix.
All right. So anyway, we went up into the actual arena. We went up into the actual pitting area. Stood in the corner. He wanted to get the background with the people in the background. So we're standing there in the corner, and the whole crowd, I don't know what they were saying, but they were rah-rahing and carrying on about something. And I don't know, they're probably hang the gringo in Filipino. I don't know. Who knows? But
Yeah.
anyway, no, they had a lot of fun with it, and you didn't use any of the other ones in there, but, we got to hold some birds and stand in the middle of the pit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, on the
These
right is his mom's house in the background. So this is kind of the yard in front of it. He's
Okay.
literally so packed on space that, he's just so tight on space that if there's, if there's 10 square feet somewhere, there's a bird. Okay. So they're just everywhere.
Now it looks like these teepees are almost made out of a small slab of concrete.
They are. They are. They're two slabs. They're two slabs of concrete, and then they're just joined together.
Probably pavers, concrete pavers on the bottom.
They make them there. They have, they have forms for these, and they'll make them. And but yeah, that's exactly what that is. Those are
You don't have to worry about that blowing over.
no
That blows over, you got bigger problems.
right. So, so the picture on the left, of course, is his mom's compound. That property there, and that's probably a little over a half, it's about an acre to an acre and a half of total land over there. Really nice property. And then over on the right is his farm, and this is where he stays. He's got a variety of different pens. So he's got teepees. He's got these trapezoidal. They're not really a drop pen because they're fixed wire. You can't fold them up or anything like that. But, they're solid. And so you can't really zoom in there, but somewhere he's gotten these plastic things to raise them up, keep them off of the wet ground. So when it rains, like if they're in those trapezoidal pens, he can get them up off the ground. A lot of times there'll be hens in there when he has space, because then he can get the eggs. The eggs never come in contact with the ground. They're not getting soiled, right? They're not come in contact with the dirt. And they're plastic, with small openings in there. And so the crew can go through there, wash them, sanitize them, keep them clean. But a lot of times his hens are up on these plastic crating platform. Then there's taller pens, over, you can see them in the background on the upper right picture. So he's got, there's no one particular kind of pen, right? Or it's not just teepees, it's not just drop pens, it's not, right? He's got a variety, and he seems to match his birds to the style of housing, that is best for them based on their size, activity level, um, you know. But
So these houses in the top picture, he and I talked about that, and it's about 4 inches bigger than the cage itself, and the cage is tied to it with wire, and the it's got square holes in it that are about 3/4 of an inch
right,
square.
yeah,
And the closest thing that I can find to it in America is like hog slats or something like that for a commercial farm.
yeah,
And I was like, "Ooh, I found these. I'm gonna get some because I can put birds and do that." And then I saw the price, and I was like, let me see if I can find a hog house that's closing down."
yeah. Actually, a layer house, they're going to have the poly plastic flooring in there. Usually, it's black, but they also make it in white. Um, but each one of those pieces, they're kind of, they snap together, form fit.
Mhm.
I mean, you
Yeah.
still attach them, but they're about 16 inches wide and maybe 3 or 4 feet long,
Mhm.
and they're 20 some bucks a piece, but they're going to last you forever, right? So
Yeah.
you just buy a few when you need them, try them out, see if you like them. Um, but yeah, that's exactly what they are. Then he has those taller pens. Again, so for hens, he's got these smaller wires, on those plastic bottoms. So the birds, there's good and bad to this, right? The bird's never on the ground; it doesn't really get a chance to scratch. But the egg never comes in contact with the ground or the manure or the mud or whatever, right? So for egg collection purposes, his eggs have a little bit better sanitation.
I was
Um,
gonna say over there with all the humidity that they have and all the different bacterias that it's like a breeding ground for,
yeah,
keeping them off the dirt. Yes, they don't get to scratch, but like everything else, there's a lot of positive to that. And I've actually seen guys using wire here and raising it up by putting it like on a 4x4 or something
right.
to put them on.
The plastic's a
Because
little easier on the feet than wire is,
yeah,
if you had access to something like this. But these are going to be way more expensive than building something yourself out of wire. But as you can see, if there's a space, there's a chicken, right? I mean, he's just
yeah.
outgrown it. Yeah. So he has to call often and call hard, because he just doesn't have room for them, right?
Well, I
So
mean,
he's,
when you got the super mall wanting to pay you a premium,
yep.
it's like, what do you do? You should. Has he
But
ever thought about making like having a 2 or 3 story barn?
no,
Because
because
I
of
mean,
typhoons and stuff, you just wouldn't do that, right? I mean, it's not. It would have to be concrete, to do
mm,
it. You're not going to stick build it. You know, you're taking a big risk on anything that's built out of 2x4s and drywall.
yeah,
Going to blow away.
yeah, it was a thought. Let's see. This looks like some of the he's got these, and you can see some mature birds, but it also looks like some little ones walking around. And
Right.
he's got the big waters there up under the shade.
Yeah, you still have the teepees and stuff, but you also have some free range, for some of the immature birds. So he's trying to get as much free ranging going as he can.
Hmm.
Again, teepees and birds everywhere. So
So speaking of, going from chick to free range, we got this question here that wants to know they're feeding our 22% chick starter.
Yep.
But they want to know when's a good time to swap over to pellets. They found some non-medicated pellets and they wanted to know when, and then they would add the supplement to it to get it to where it needs to be.
Starter feed for sure is 6 weeks. And if I don't know what feed I'm going to next, he said there's no non-medicated pellet here in Hawaii. So it's going to be tough. But anyway, it's for sure 6 weeks. And if I'm going to like a commercially available feed, local commercial available feed, I might actually go 8 weeks on the 22 starter, just to make sure they're ready for that transition to other feed.
Yeah, because the nutrition on it's, if they don't even have non-medicated feed available, I'd be curious to know just exactly what was.
I mean, I'm not sure.
They're in Hawaii.
Yeah, and I'm not sure which island or where. Kalmbach's starting to come to Hawaii. So I know they're starting to ship in there. A lot of the guys are still using the Neutrina all flock. There's choices there. They have a 25% something made for the islands down there.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a Neutrina product. So there's choices. They're just not great choices. Okay.
And there's a company, there's a mill in California that sends a lot to Hawaii that has several different options, but about the only numbers they're hitting that they should be hitting is the fat and fiber. So, yeah. I mean, you got a golf cart path right here with breeding pens all alongside of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is all the way down straight ahead. And the first picture, is the small kitchen area, and the house down there. That's the farm compound where we eat breakfast every morning. And this is the view between where his poultry manager, like his flock manager, lives. So this picture was taken pretty much from up at the flock manager's house. He also lives right there on the farm. You get a better view of those plastic risers, to get the bird up off the ground. These TPs don't look necessarily full. They're not set very wide, but you can see some birds in them. And so you mix these up, because then the last picture on the far right is back out at the free range area. And so he's got these protected areas. He uses like a heavy shade cloth, right, for the lower part, blocks the wind and the rain. But then he's got the upper roosting area, right? So the young fowl are already learning to fly up on a roost, and this is about 5 foot off the ground, so they're already getting exercise, getting a chance to express themselves. But the lower cloth area provides them shade and also provides them a barrier against blowing wind, right? So when you get some really high winds, blowing rain, it gives them some good protection down there.
And it looks like, too, there's like a little hut up under one of them that they could get into. So I'm wondering if this would be where he puts his chicks.
This is where they grow out. Yeah. So after they hit that, 4 to 6 weeks old, and they don't need heat anymore, then they're going into a hut like this. Feeding water's in there, underneath, behind that shade cloth. Right. And if you look close, you see the lime on the ground. So he's really stepped it up. A visit or so ago when I was there, we were talking about liming the ground. It helps to sanitize the ground, so you have less bacteria load, parasite load, things like that. Just makes it safer, right? And it neutralizes a lot of the previous ammonia and things like that. So you can see that he's using lime, and he gets a large amount of it. He gets it from the feed. He gets it from the feed manufacturer where he gets his feed made. So he's getting like a feed calcium carbonate. And
Yeah, he's getting the good stuff.
yeah, that's the best way to do it. But
so Mark has a question. What are your thoughts on the Gilas and the other two feeds in the Philippines?
I have not seen a tag on Gillis, and I have the BMAG. They've got the BMAG has one or two. Like the BMAG 3000 is decent. Okay. Again, look, everybody making feed in the Philippines is competing. There's the Filipinos don't have a lot of money to spend, so they're not putting many extras in these feeds, right? They just can't afford to put it in there. And I did not look at the Salto feeds. I mean, unfortunately, Thunderbird pretty much owns the feed market in the Philippines because they
distribute a lot.
Well, they go around to all the bigger farms, right? If there's a chance that you might be a winner at one of the big derbies, right? They sign a contract and you can't endorse anybody else. And so you get like $500 worth of feed a month for free. And that's your compensation for your contract with Thunderbird. But Thunderbird goes out and ties everybody up. Okay. And
they got it on lockdown.
Yeah. And they got the money to do it. So either Thunderbird or Excellence, those are the top two. I mean, BMAG gets some of that business, but I mean, they're at the end of the day, they're not great feeds, Mark. Okay. Just being truthful with you. They're going to keep a bird alive, but they're not performance feeds by any stretch of the imagination.
Let's see. Yep, those are the same feeds along with the Thunderbird and Guam.
Look, the feed that Gen Gen's feeding is available in Guam. Okay. And it's 18%. It's already got the Rapido in it. It's it's ready. Okay. No questions asked. But my understanding after talking to, Michael from Get Feed, he's like, everybody here is too cheap. They won't spend the money for it. And then we're sitting in the VIP room at the pit, right? And I'm talking to Michael and I go, yeah, Gen Gen only feeds 30 grams of feed, morning and evening. He goes, what? He goes, only to the mature birds, right? Not to the stags. And I said, no, stags. So, a few minutes later, Gen Gen's done with his conversation or tying the knife or whatever. And I said, Gen Gen, how much you feeding your stags? He goes, 30 grams morning and 30 grams in the evening. So that's 60 grams. And you did the math, right? 2.25 ounces a day of feed. And he's got amazing stags. They're growing, really, really well. Okay. But
some people can't get past the initial sticker shock. Like Mark says in Guam, it's $60 a sack. A lot of people, they're not going to pay that.
Okay.
Because they don't look at being able to feed half the amount of feed or 60%.
Okay. It's going to be a third less than the other feeds that he mentioned. Okay. So they're probably feeding closer to 3 or a little more ounces of, like the Santos, the BMAG, the Gillis, and the Thunderbird, because all those feeds have wheat middlings and byproducts in them, right? So, you're basically feeding nothing, right? They're just filler.
That's like 84, 85 grams.
Yeah. So if you feed a third less, then it's the same price. But the performance, of Gen Gen's feed is amazing. So we're not comparing apples to apples. And until Mark tries a bag side by side with the other stuff and sees the difference for himself, he's not going to realize it.
Well, he just said, now that you explained it, the cost is worth it.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
I refuse to make cheap feed. Okay. So if someone asks me how to make a cheaper feed, I just hang up on them, say, look, I can't help you, my friend. You need to go somewhere else because that's, I don't have enough life left in me to deal with cheap. Okay. I don't,
I
I
mean,
ain't going
there's only one way, and that's to buy in bigger bulk.
to, even then it's not really cheaper. And then people keep it for too long. You know, if you got feed for more than 30 days, 45 days, it's too old. So it's
Mhm.
not, don't do it.
That just means they need more birds. Let's
Well,
see. Sean says a few feed stores we have won't bring in non-medicated pellets unless he buys a ton. Only have 6 birds and a few dozen young. Yeah, that's wow.
sorry, man.
Yep.
All right. You got any more pictures or?
Yeah, we got some more.
All right. Okay. So he's bringing this is like rest stalls, you know, when he's putting up a show, when he's bringing in birds to prep for a show on the left, right? He'll bring them in here. This is kind of his rest stall area. Um, and then again, just, you know, more teepees, more houses. It's like they're everywhere. Okay. I mean,
I was going to
they're
say in that picture on the left, it looks like there's a bunch of fans up in the ceiling.
yeah.
And I see the stalls, obviously, like everything else that he values, off the ground. And then he's got a few of those trapezoids too.
Yeah. Well, if you're putting up a big show, like if you're prepping for like a 9 cock or 11 cock or a 9 stag, 11 stag, you know, you've got to put up at least twice as many birds or more, right? So you've got to have a big facility. Um, you're not going to go pick the perfect 11 birds off the yard, right? It is not going to happen. And, you know, so you got to have room for choices. So I have
Now,
no idea what the chair is in there. I think
man,
he said
that's
somebody
where Gen
taking a
Gen
nap.
sits and watches.
I guess. So
That's what I figured. I was like, oh well, that's where he sits and just watches. You know, you and I talk about sitting on a,
yeah.
flipping over our bucket. You know, he's got a lounge chair.
So this
And
is, you know, these are the drop pens. So he's putting birds in here. He can see how they're dumping out and so on. The middle picture is a view from the kitchen table area in the, you know, where we stay at the farm. Um, on the right hand side of that picture, behind the golf carts, is the room I stay in. There's an air conditioned kitchen slash meeting room, and then behind the building, right behind it, back where the other 2 yellow golf carts are, that's where Gen Gen's room is. That's where he stays on the farm. Even though he has a really lavish, nice house over on the main compound, he spends his nights. I mean, he's sleeping on the farm pretty much 95% of the time.
I mean, he's a cocker at heart.
Yeah, I mean, this is where he likes to be. You know, he's got air conditioning and all that other stuff, so it's not like he's got a hard life there. But you know, it's just basically a one large bedroom, shower. You know,
The
shower,
basics.
toilet area. Yeah, right. That's all he needs. He's got a big TV. Yeah, he got like a 65-inch TV. He's got a lazy boy recliner. You know, he'll watch Netflix until he falls asleep, and he'll move over to the bed, put on a CPAP machine, and sleep some more. So,
Mark wants to know if he switches over and uses Gen Gen's feed, does he still need to supplement it?
no, the Gen Gen 18% high energy pellet has the Rapido in it. Okay, so that's one more savings for you. Okay, it is complete. Now, using the Mark, just be careful because the 18 high energy pellet feeds like anyone else's 20 or 21% protein. So for yard feed, I need to give you like he's feeding um, 3 parts pellet to 1 part cracked corn, whole oats, kind of like a scratch mix, and that turns into his yard feed. And then you need to adjust up and down based on how your birds feel. Even some of it, like some of his older cocks and hens, not stags, but some of his older cocks and hens, he'll actually be down at a 50-50, half grain, half pellet, because it's just because of the amount of the amino acids and the vitamins and everything that's in that 18 that his pellet, that you can come down to pretty close to half and half as a yard feed, maintenance feed, not during breeding season, but in your off season, so to speak, you can be feeding half and half with cracked corn. And now all of a sudden that becomes a whole lot more cost effective as well, right? Because you can buy scratch for a lot less money than his pellet. But
right.
Pretty much once you get the bird off the starter feed, you can go to the 18 pellet and leave them on that until they're pretty much mature. I would say 6 months old. And again, at 6 months old, then you're only feeding them about 30 grams of feed. And you can bring that down, because now you're putting that 25%, 3-to-1 pellet to scratch grain, and you're still only feeding 35 grams. Okay. So it becomes a way more cost effective when you take a look inside the whole program and how it comes together and how it works. But yeah, that 18 pellet is going to perform like anyone else's 20 to 21. So it's pretty hot.
Somebody asked me one time about the pellet, and they asked how much a 50-pound bag of it was, and I told them, and they were like, "Holy crap!" And I said, "1 bag makes 200 pounds of feed." And then they were like, "Oh," because you got that 50 pounds, and then you mix in your other grains.
Yeah.
Is this the one in the middle? Is that the one you was telling us about, the wall with them up at the top? Or is that somebody's house?
No. So this is on his farm, where we stay. It's just another view. His farm, they have it has a wall all the way around it. Right? I mean, most of your more prominent properties will have a security wall around it. Is it necessarily to keep people out? No, it's a deterrent to say if you cross the wall, you're probably not going to come out alive. Okay, so it's your last warning.
It's a warning.
Yeah, it's a warning. But nobody bothers him there. Yeah. They've got a long history in politics. I mean, they got a long history, period, like all the way back to his grandfather, his father, and his father was the mayor of Tanza for a long time. His brother was the mayor of Tanza for a long time. So, they've got a pretty rich history in the region.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Dwayne said it looks like a retirement place.
It's hot, man. It's hot. And, the other day I was just comparing like the mosquitoes. So their mosquitoes are not even half the size of our mosquitoes like we have in the U.S. They're really small, but they pack a really big bite, man. You can get some itching going on there. So
that sucks.
Yeah.
Dwayne asked if that was a woman leaving your room on the yellow golf cart.
Nope.
Never. Picture.
Only the one I brought with me, Dwayne.
Alex says that him and Mike spoke about you in your conversation while you were at Gen Gen's farm for about an hour, possibly more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Mike and I had at least 3 hours of conversation, right? Breaking down a whole lot of different things, whether nutritional, health, whatever. Mike is a great guy. Okay. I tell you what, he's a great guy. He's solid. After meeting him, I felt like he's somebody I could count on if I needed help, and he's just that kind of guy, right? He's straight up.
That's pretty cool because you don't see that a whole lot.
No, he's straight up. He's black and white. There's no shades of gray. He's my kind of guy. you know, he knows when to call bullshit, and that's yeah. No, I can't say enough good about Mike. I mean,
That's awesome.
oh yeah, Gen Gen bought him a one of those Chinese feed grinders, so the guys are putting it together. We're sitting there doing a little supervision. So
I was gonna say, is that a grinder or is that one of the pellet machines that
no,
has
it's
the screw in it?
no, it's the grinder, and very similar to like the one you're using, and you can adjust it in and out to get your grind size where you want it.
Yeah. There's another picture of it fully assembled, and I was like, that's the same one I got.
Yeah, same one. So they were just working on putting it together. There's the fly pens again on the right, and just another variety of his different housing.
I think what Dwayne wants is just like one of those fly pens with an air conditioner and a TV. He's been telling me a lot about going to the gym and you know getting fit more than what he has already lost.
Uh,
I feel like if he sits in one of those fly pens for a few days, I mean, he'll probably sweat off like 10 pounds.
Probably.
That stand
All
right
right.
there.
So that comes from Ted Trevino. He made it. He hated that cheap, flimsy metal angle iron stand that
It's
came with it.
garbage.
So one afternoon, he with some scrap wood he had laying around, and went to the store for a little bit of stuff, but he built his own, and put it on casters so he can wheel it in and out of the garage and the whole bit. And
I mean, like this thing looks like 2x4s, 2x12s, and 3/4 inch plywood.
it's solid.
It's
It's
more
solid.
solid than the metal
Oh yeah.
crap that it comes on.
Yep.
I really like that though. If I used mine a lot now, I would probably do something like that.
Yep. It's a
For
pretty good
sure.
idea. Yeah. Yep.
And the one in the middle, that's a picture at a distance. The one that we looked at earlier
Yeah.
that had the glass in it.
Right.
So I think these are some more pictures that are very
Just
similar to.
they're just different angles, different
Yeah.
angles of the farm. I mean, he did a great job of
Look,
getting.
man,
Yeah.
the only thing he could have done, there's two things that he could have done better. And that's send me like a video of the whole tour. And I would like to see one of his brooder rooms. Like, what does it look like for a room with 800 chicks in it?
He's got.
That's
He's
got to be
actually
cool.
got. He's got 4 individual brooding areas in one large barn, and they are about 24 foot by 24 foot. Okay. And each one has 400 birds in it. It's always freshly bedded there. They use rice hulls because they have access to them pretty
Oh, yeah, they're probably
inexpensively.
easy to get there.
Yeah, the feed is up on those plastic perforated platforms. So if the feed falls down, right, the chicks aren't eating spoiled feed that hit the ground, hit manure, or whatever, right? Waters are elevated. The chicks look amazing. So unless you get some weird disease that flies in, on the wind, I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's an
So
amazing place.
hatching time with their CT series of incubators, they have these hatch boxes that, in my opinion, are garbage. But what they are great for is putting them upside down in your brooders because they have like maybe 1/8 inch square holes all throughout the thing. Put your feeder up there, your water up there, and you wind up with hardly anything actually getting into the feed or the water with it raised up on grates like that.
Yeah, I really don't want birds eating spilled feed. So
Mm-mm. And I mean, for the first day or two, a lot of people just throw it all over the place. I'm like, use a paper plate.
Yeah, I like to put down. I like to put down the brown craft paper or trays like we used to use in the cafeteria when we went to school. Right,
Yeah,
put down
the
a bunch
paper
of trays.
trays.
Yeah, and then you know,
Something.
after a few days, you start removing the trays as things get soiled and nasty, but not on the ground. Okay, just not on the bare ground. But anyway, that's not what we're here for. So,
Yep. Now, this right here, I see the scales and I see the juice, but what is that? Is that onion rings on that plate?
okay, so actually, Gen Gen feeds his crew every morning. So that you're looking at either breakfast or lunch or something like that. He feeds his men on the farm. So this would be a table set up in there, but they're also weighing chicks. They're weighing out different things. They're mixing up, whether they're mixing up supplements, you know, things like that.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with a working breakfast.
Mm.
Like I took that picture and I zoomed in a whole lot, and I have no clue what it was, but I saw that it was fried and it looked really good. So
They really like fried bananas here, so they'll put a little sugar on it.
that may actually be what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah,
Fried bananas. I could go for that.
yeah.
I mean, in the South, we deep fry anything. So, does
So
anybody have any questions? We're about it. We're at our hour,
yeah,
but if anybody's got questions, shoot them out
well,
really
look, I need
fast.
yeah, because I need to use the restroom. But do we talk about the opportunity for January or not?
Um, let's talk to Gen Gen about that, and then we'll talk about it.
All right. I mean, we're in there. I mean,
Look,
we're good on this end, but
well, so there is a spot for two people,
two, yep.
possibly one, but definitely two. I mean, definitely one, possibly two, to go to Gen Gen's place in January for a week. Stay on the farm. He's going to go over his selection process, how he does everything that he does, talk in depth about his breeding program, the whole 9 yards. And he will take us to a place where it's legal and show us what we can do. If you have some birds that you would like to send over ahead of time, he will receive them and take care of them till you get there. That will be a little extra, but right now it's looking like probably all in, you're going to be about 1,000 US plus a plane ticket for the
Yeah.
week, and that includes your food and your hotel.
Well, no hotel. We're staying at the farm.
Well, where you're
Food,
lodging,
food and lodging.
lodging.
Right. So he's
Yeah.
not charging. He's not charging for the room. Now, the one room has 3 beds in it, so it's shared room. You're not bringing your wife, okay? Or so it's going to be men in there. There's 3 beds, 3 places to sleep. Right. It'll be a shared room, but you're not paying for a motel.
Yep.
The food and expenses are going to be shared. Okay. So, like he said, you get there, everybody throw in $500, right? And he'll use that for purchasing all the food, breakfast, lunch, dinner for the week. If it runs out, we throw in another 500, whatever, right? And um, food's probably between 70 and $100 a day, American. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I said about $1,000.
Yeah. And he eats good. Okay. You're not,
Yes, he does.
he eats differently. Okay. Than, and we, when we figure out who's going, that's fine. And right now we're kind of targeting the dates of January 3rd through the 10th to be there. You got to get yourself from the airport down to his place. Um, Look, the taxi ride is about $25. Okay, and that includes the tip, so it's not bad. $25, $30. for the taxi ride each way. And
and if you lose your stuff, there's a mall right there.
Yeah. Once you get there, he's got everything else covered. He'll take us to other farms to visit. He'll take us to his other farm. It's about an hour away up on the mountain to visit, and every afternoon, we end up at his arena. On the low days, there's 30 fights, and on bigger days, there's 50 plus. Okay. And I learn a lot there, right? Because, I'm looking at those birds as they bring them in, right? And you're evaluating them in like a 3 to 5 minute time frame to try and pick a winner. If you want to bet, you can bet, right? If you just want to watch, you can watch. And that's completely up to you. But look, if you're thinking about sending birds, their birds are completely different. A big bird there is 4.5 pounds. Okay. There's not many birds being pitted at 4.5 pounds. Most of them are 3.7 to 4 pounds in that range. 1,800 grams to 2,100 grams. So if you want to do the math, divided by 453.6, but it's a much smaller bird there. Okay. And they're fast. So, everything there is lighter weight and faster.
I've watched some videos and they're lightning fast. Any advice on using Rapido during the molt season? Keep using it. They need the nutrition.
Right. But you need to lower your protein and your energy during the molt. Okay. The early molt, beginning of the molt. Okay. The first 3 weeks. Okay. Feed a lot of oats, feed a lot of alfalfa, drop that protein down to around 12%. Get the corn out as much as you can. Feed a lot of oats, feed a lot of alfalfa, and get that energy down. Take some stress off the bird early, but you keep using the Rapido at the same level, right? Because they need the vitamins, they need the nutrients.
Alex wants to know how to win.
You pay your own way, Alex. Man, nobody's paying the trip.
I mean, really, you are winning because he's actually opening up his place to teach you what his family has spent generations to learn the hard way. So, yeah. All right, guys, we will see y'all next Monday.
All right.
Till then, keep them crowing.
We would like to take a moment to thank our friends over at ShowPro Farm Supply for their generous sponsorship and support. Whether you're raising heritage poultry, show poultry, gamefowl, or other species of livestock, ShowPro offers custom formulated feeds and supplements to help your animals reach their full genetic potential. And they don't stop at livestock. They also carry Alumacoop's movable poultry housing, plus a full line of Fertrell farm and garden products, so your whole homestead gets what it needs to thrive. Check out ShowPro Farm Supply, where nutrition meets know-how.